Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to the daily quiz discussion for 24th of July 2022. Beginning with the first question of the day, which reads, consider the following statements with respect to Chandrasekhar Azad. The three question statements are as follows. The first one, he actively participated in the non-cooperation movement launched by Mahatma Gandhi. The second statement, he formed the Hindustan Republican Association in 1923. And the third statement reads, he was involved in the Kakori train robbery. Which of the following statements are correct? Please have a look at the options given. What is the context? This article from the PIB takes note of the Indian Prime Minister paying tribute to Chandrasekhar Azad as well as Lokmanya Tilak on their birth anniversary. Coming back to the question, Chandrasekhar Azad, originally known as Chandrasekhar Sitaram Tiwari, was an Indian revolutionary and freedom fighter. Notably, he was just 15 years old when he joined the non-cooperation movement in 1921, which was started by Mahatma Gandhi. His active participation in the movement led to his arrest. When presented before the magistrate, he famously declared that his name is Azad, which means freedom in Urdu. Hence the name Azad. So the first statement is correct. The second statement is wrong. Why? Because Chandrasekhar Azad did not form the Hindustan Republican Association in 1923. The Hindustan Republican Association was founded by Ram Prasad Bismil, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, Sachindranath Sanyal, and Ashfaqullah Khan in the year 1923. Consider the third statement. This statement is correct. Chandrasekhar Azad came into contact with Ram Prasad Bismil through fellow revolutionaries. Azad's involvement in the Indian independence movement came to the fore during the Kakori train robbery, in which, under the leadership of Ram Prasad Bismil and Ashfaqullah Khan, the group robbed a train headed to Lucknow that was carrying money for the British Treasury. Subsequently, Ram Prasad Bismil and Ashfaqullah Khan were arrested and given death sentences. During such time, Chandrasekhar Azad reorganized the Hindustan Republican Association, which further became the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. The primary goal of the HSRA was to ensure a socialist-based independent India. Chandrasekhar Azad worked closely with another noted revolutionary, Bhagat Singh. Some of the notable developments include the shooting of Saunders in Lahore to avenge Lala Lajpat Rai's death and the attempt to blow Indian Viceroy's train in 1929. Since the question asks for the correct statement, the answer to this question would be option C, 1 and 3 only. Moving on to the second question. It reads, which of the following statements is or are correct with respect to fertilizer import and export by India? There are two question statements given here. The first one reads, with respect to muriate of potash or the MOP fertilizer, India is completely dependent on imports. The second statement reads, with respect to urea fertilizer, India enjoys self-sufficiency and is able to meet all demand through domestic production. Please have a look at the options given below. What is the context? This article from the Indian Express notes the substantial rise in fertilizer imports from Russia into India. The article also analyzes India's fertilizer dependency on other countries. Notably, to meet its domestic demand, India imports a significant quantity of fertilizers, the most important being urea, DAP or diammonium phosphate, and muriate of potash or MOP. In the case of muriate of potash, India is completely dependent on imports. That is, there are no domestic production facilities for MOP. India imports MOP mainly from two major sources, Israel and Lithuania. When it comes to DAP, India does have domestic production, but more than 50% of this demand is met through imports. Saudi Arabia, followed by China, are the major suppliers of DAP to India. When it comes to urea, out of the total 341 lakh metric tons, 250 lakh metric tons are met through domestic production, while the remaining 91 lakh metric tons are met through imports. In the case of urea, China and Oman are the major suppliers. Coming back to the question. From our discussion, it is clear that the first statement is correct. India does not have any domestic production of muriate of potash and is completely dependent on imports to meet the domestic demand. The second statement is wrong. Why? Because India does import urea fertilizer. Since the question asks for the correct statement, the answer to this question would be option A, one only. Moving on to the third question of the day. It reads, consider the following statements with respect to Anglo-Mysore Wars of 18th century. The two question statements are as follows. The first statement reads, the first Anglo-Mysore War was fought over the control of northern Sirkars region and ended with the signing of the Treaty of Mangalore between British and Hyder Ali. The second statement reads, Tipu Sultan died fighting in the Third Anglo-Mysore War. Which of the following statements is or are incorrect? Please note the question asks for the incorrect statement. Please have a look at the options given below. What is the context? This article from the Indian Express takes note of an exhibition which is scheduled to exhibit 18th century paintings of Tipu Sultan and the Anglo-Mysore Wars. Coming back to the question. Note, there were totally 4 Anglo-Mysore Wars which was fought during the 18th century. Consider the first statement. The first Anglo-Mysore Wars was fought over the control of northern Sirkars region. This part of the statement is correct. Now, where does northern Sirkars region lie? Consider the map of modern India. Note, British had territories in Bengal as well as in Madras. This is the northern Sirkars region. The state of Mysore was located here. This was British controlled or East India Company controlled. Mysore and the British went to war over the issue of northern Sirkars. Notably, British wanted to ensure connectivity between their controlled areas of Bengal and Madras. And to achieve this, they had obtained permission from the Nizam of Hyderabad to have control over northern Sirkars region. Mysore, then ruled by Hyder Ali, were against any such transfer of control of the northern Sirkars region to the British, and they went to war over this issue. While the first part of the statement is correct, the second part is wrong. Why? Because the first Anglo-Mysore War ended with the Treaty of Madras and not Treaty of Mangalore. Note, the Treaty of Mangalore was signed at the end of the second Anglo-Mysore War. So, the first statement is wrong. Consider the second statement. This is also wrong. Why? Because Tipu Sultan died fighting in the fourth Anglo-Mysore War and not third. Note, Tipu Sultan lost the Third Anglo-Mysore War and was forced to sign the Treaty of Srirangapatnam. Since the question asks for the incorrect statements, the answer to this question would be option C, both 1 and 2. Moving on to the fourth question of the day. It reads, consider the following pairs of port and bordering water body. There are 4 pairs given here. The first one is Odessa, Black Sea. Second one, Rotterdam, North Sea. Third one, Hong Kong, East China Sea. And fourth one, Dakar, Indian Ocean. How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? Please have a look at the options given. What is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express notes the Russian missile attack on the Odessa port. Odessa port is located on the Black Sea coastline. Coming back to the question. As discussed, the first pair is correctly matched. What about the second pair? The second pair is also correctly matched. Note, Rotterdam is the largest seaport in Europe and it is also the world's largest seaport outside of East Asia. It is located in Netherlands. Consider the third pair. This is wrongly matched. Why? This is because the port of Hong Kong is located by the South China Sea and not East China Sea. Consider the fourth pair. This is also wrongly matched. Dakar is located in Senegal, which lies in the Western African region. Hence, it cannot be Indian Ocean. It is on the Atlantic Ocean coastline. Dakar port is one of the largest deepwater seaports along the West African coast. Since the question asks for the correctly matched pairs, the answer to this question would be option B, 2 pairs only. Moving on to the fifth question, which is the last question of the day. This is a question from the UPSC 2019 UPSC Prelims General Studies Paper 1. The question reads, consider the following statements. The Environment Protection Act 1986 empowers the government of India to, two statements are given here. The first one, state the requirement of public participation in the process of environmental protection and the procedure and the manner in which it is sought. The second statement, lay down the standards for emission or discharge of environmental pollutants from various sources. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Note, the Environment Protection Act of 1986 authorizes the central government to protect as well as improve environmental quality, control and reduce pollution from all sources, and prohibit or restrict industrial facility on environmental grounds. Hence, the objective of the Environmental Protection Act is the protection and improvement of environment. And based on this responsibility, the government of India can lay down standards for emission or discharge of environmental pollutants from various sources. So the second statement is correct. Note, the Environmental Protection Act of 1986 does not contain any provision related to public participation. So the first statement is wrong. Since the question asks for the correct statement, the answer to this question would be option B, 2 only. Moving on to the fact of the day, African swine fever. What is the context? This article from the Hindu notes the Wayanad district administration preparing to cull pigs on a farm in the Wayanad district. This follows the confirmation of African swine fever cases in farms in the district. The testing was carried out at the National Institute of High Security Animal Diseases located in Bhopal. In this context, let us understand a few basic aspects about African swine fever. Note, African swine fever is a highly contagious viral disease of domestic and wild pigs. The mortality rates are very high and can reach up to 100%. Note, African swine fever is different from the swine flu in that it does not affect people and there is no impact on human health. The disease is caused by a double-stranded DNA virus. The main vectors of this disease include the ticks. This disease is mostly endemic to sub-Saharan African region but has been noted in other parts of the world as well. Notably, there is no effective vaccine which exists against the African swine fever currently, although there are some experimental vaccines which are being tried out. Though African swine fever does not have any effect on human health, it can be responsible for massive losses in pig populations, which can have drastic economic and social consequences for the human beings. That is all we have for today's discussion. Thank you for being with us.